Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Adam Manson, and I am the Chief Data Officer here at BVR. Our webinar today is entitled Automate Extracting Tax Returns, Data Workflow with Nambri TaxXL with Murali, Minnah and Nataliya Kalava. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that your attendance today is eligible for 1 CPE credit. To receive the credit, you must answer 3 poll questions that will appear during this webinar, and you must complete and submit a brief survey within 5 business days. A link to that survey is included with your login email and is also available on the event page for the program. At the conclusion of today's program, you will automatically be directed to that survey. If you are registered as an additional listener, you must be on your own device so that you can respond to the questions and qualify for CPE. If during the webinar you have any trouble with the audio streaming, please try refreshing your screen to fix that issue. We will take all questions for our presenters using the Q&A chat function on the side of your screen. Again, to receive your CE credit for today's webinar, you must answer 3 questions that will appear at random times during this presentation. And now I would like to introduce today's speakers. Murali Minnah is a managing member and co-founder of Nambri Technologies LLC. He heads up product development at Nambri. He brings deep expertise in enterprise software and commercialization. With academic backgrounds in finance and technology, he is interested in rapidly accelerating operational effectiveness and productivity by applying scalable, secure, and high-precision software solutions, leveraging AI and machine learning. Nataliya Kalava has over 13 years of experience in the field of finance. She has prepared, overseen, or contributed to hundreds of valuations for gift and estate tax planning, SBA valuations, financial reporting, and litigation purposes. Additionally, Nataliya was an adjunct finance faculty member at the University of Tampa, teaching corporate finance and investment courses. She is a co-founder and managing member at Nambri Technologies and focuses on business development. Our speakers' full bios can be found on the webinar presentation page as well. And with that, I will turn this over to you both. Have a great presentation.
Thank you, Adam, and good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending on where you're located. We are so happy you are able to join us for this presentation. Hopefully you will find the information useful. And as Adam mentioned, don't hesitate to submit your questions in the Q&A chat, and I will try to keep an eye on it, as well as Murali, and then we will try to answer them as we are presenting. All right, and with that, let me go over briefly the agenda that we will cover today during this webinar. First of all, I will give you a few brief sentences presentation on about us, about Nambri Technologies. Next, we will jump into Nambri TaxXL and learn a little bit more about the application, what it does, its value proposition to you as valuation professionals. Next, we will do the case study and the product demo, which I'm sure will create a lot of questions that we can answer for you. And then we will conclude with sharing the roadmap and additional exciting features that we are working on right now. And then we will have a final opportunity for the Q&A. And so we have a few learning objectives for today's webinar. And the first one is to identify key data attributes in tax returns that are required to perform business valuation analysis. Second is to understand how to use Nambri TaxXL to automate knowledge abstraction. And third, to recognize core benefits of using technology tools to automate business valuation process. And so a little bit about us. Nambri Technologies is a software company. We are focused on solving problems that are facing finance professionals and business valuation community. Our product, Nambri TaxXL, actually was developed as a result of me struggling as a business valuation solo practitioner in my practice. How can I automate and how can I improve efficiency within my practice? So we're all entrepreneurs by heart as well, with deep expertise, not only in business valuation, but on my co-founder side in AI and ML, which is artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we are committed to improving accuracy, efficiency, in the financial services sector, and we work with a number of accounting firms, valuation professionals, as well as the lending community with our product. And here, just once more, my name is Nataliya, and then our co-founder, Brett Fitch, is head of technology, and he's typically our go-to contact to answer any type of technical nuances that you may have with the product. And then Murali is focusing on product development, and he is withered really amongst the three of us to jump into any area. Let's go in and discuss the industry challenges. So as I mentioned, as a solo business valuation practitioner in the past, we receive all of the tax returns in a PDF format. And I remember sitting in my office, it takes hours to type in number by number, very manual task before I get to actually the fun part, the exciting part of why the client retained us is to provide the analysis. So manual extraction can take a few hours depending on how many years you're working with. So if it's a 3 to 5 year tax returns, may take a couple of hours, or it may take upward of 5 hours and above. Well, if we have a number of clients throughout the year, imagine how many hours we're spending simply data entering. It can be an error-prone process, especially items such as other deductions can be hard to see in tax returns because the scanned document is not very much aligned. So there's a lot of wasted effort. And I was struggling myself to find a better way to extract the data so I can finally move on to the analysis stage in my valuation engagement. So why tax data matters in valuations? As trusted advisors, I'm sure you know that financial data is the foundation, the bedrock of any valuation analysis. So we need to know what is the trend in revenues. So what are the underlying drivers for it? What are the trends in expenses? What do we need to make in terms of the normalization adjustments? How are the margins are shaping out? But it's hard to see if we're only looking at one tax return at a time, right? So we have to spread the financials to see the full picture. I know from my experience, I've heard one valuation professional told me the other day, well, I just like entering the numbers and see what exactly I'm entering. While it's a true statement, I would say it's almost like laying a house brick by brick, right? When you're entering data, you see only one piece of information. You don't see the full story. You don't see the full house. So you can take that step back and immediately notice patterns and items that you need to discover and dig deeper. So our product, Nambri TaxXL, allows you to do it in a much more efficient manner. As you already know, the data must be entered accurately. And if you have a junior person working on the tax returns, they may be right out of school. They may not be even familiar about what information goes into P&L, what information goes into balance sheet, or the fact that balance sheet has to balance. So there is that opportunity for them to make mistakes. And what we want accuracy. And that's where Nambri TaxXL simplifies that process and facilitates much more streamlined, efficient valuation engagement. So you end up spending just minutes, not hours, entering data into your model. It's very simple. The process is very intuitive. It's pretty much just like 1, 2, 3. You upload the tax returns data into the program. It automatically runs several stages and scrapes the information from the tax returns. And then you get a nice output Excel worksheet, which you can either take and copy paste into your Excel models, or if you like building models from scratch, you can just build upon it. So it really depends based on your practice areas. I'm going to pause just for a second and see if we have any questions from anyone so far. Seems like so far so good. So we'll continue. I'm going to let Murali now talk a little bit about the technology side of Nambri TaxXL.
Fantastic. So thanks, Natalia. So as you can see, what we've built is an enterprise product, right? So we've taken into considerations all the needs about security, scaling, and reliability and resilience when we build this product. So it's completely cloud-based SaaS offering. End users have a very clear, distinct way to log into the product, create their project, and upload the PDFs, right? So on your left side, it's the mechanism to get the data into the software, and it is done in two simple steps. You log into your product, you create a project, you upload the PDF forms. Once the PDFs have been ingested, Nambri TaxXL goes through multiple stages of image correction, information extraction, reconciliation, and then it delivers the output back in an export format. So the entire flow of data is very seamless, it's very intuitive, and it's very secure. So once the data has been transformed, you can download the Excel files onto your local machines and verify or interact with the software as you need. Because sometimes once the processing is completed, you may want to just get the Excel files, move on with the analysis, but at times you may want to interrogate the data as well. So the product allows you to completely manage the data in the cloud with full control on retention. So the end user has complete control over how long the PDFs need to stay there, and things like that. It's a very beautifully orchestrated product, and you can complete your work to transform the tax documents into Excel in a few minutes. So just in case you accidentally deleted the files, it won't take you very much time to upload the same files and rerun the files. I see a few questions. I think the first one that came through is, can state tax be analyzed as well? How do we feel comfortable with security? What type of errors show up? So, Natalia, do you want to talk about the state tax part of it?
Sure. If Mr. Shaw, if you can please elaborate, perhaps what do you mean by can state tax be analyzed as well? Do you mean the personal tax returns per state? If that is your question, then our product right now can process Schedule C from the Form 1040, and we'll cover a little bit further in the presentation what forms exactly Nambri TaxXL accepts and processes. Business tax, okay. Thank you for clarifying. Business tax returns. So we take the forms, the federal tax forms, the 1120, 1120S, 1065, and like I said, from the 1040 Schedule C. They would not necessarily be the state tax returns. And then, Murali, do you want to cover the security aspect?
Yeah, I think the security has come up twice. So let me give them a quick tour of all the security that's in place, right? So when we built the product, we completely understand that tax information is highly sensitive and everybody is primarily concerned about every aspect of security. So we have full-on encryption built into the product. So authentication happens through, LDAP or SSOs, those kind of stuff. And then all the data is encrypted both at rest and in transit, right? So the entire software runs on a highly secure enterprise cloud, and the message as you send the data to the cloud or receive back, right? All of those are encrypted. So there is no, when we take custody of your message, it happens on encrypted channels. And when you take the processed output from us, that's also encrypted. So there is no form of any security, data leaks or security leaks or anything. I'm happy to provide any additional information that you need, in terms of security and stuff. But every aspect of the product, both when the data is at rest or in flight, are all handled securely.
Thank you, Murali. I'll answer another question that disappeared, but I remember seeing it. The question was, how do we handle if there are any errors that come up from scraping? So that's a great question. The program is intuitive enough to identify that potentially there might be an error. So during the demo of the product, I will highlight the area where that error will appear. Essentially, it's an exclamation mark that would come up. So we, as part of the best practices, we do encourage the users to go in and compare the PDF versus the extracted data. And if there are any errors, the user can not automatically, but manually make an adjustment to the correct number and save. And then once that discrepancy reconciles, typically the error that has been highlighted, that mark will disappear. So I will read the next question. Can any type of PDF be used? Some are scanned and not clean copies. This question is from Wendy. Murali, were you going to answer that? All right. So yes, essentially any type of PDF document can be used. Obviously, if the scanned copy is almost horizontal, it will produce more errors. However, as Murali mentioned, this scraping process goes through multiple stages, and I believe it's 6 stages of confirming the data that is being extracted. So each stage passes and says, does this reconcile with the second pass, the third pass, so on and so forth, and then it picks the best version. So while some errors are possible, any type of PDF tax return can be processed. I will mention though, if your files are password protected, it will not process. So you will have to unlock the files, resave it, and then process it through Nambri TaxXL. And I believe there was a polling question sound. So if you did not hear it, or if you want to answer that, this is your alert. Murali, did you want to add anything to the PDF scan copies question?
No, I think you explained it very well. So we do a ton of image processing, image correction before we extract the information. So you can, this cleaner the better. But if you have any kind of document, whether it's scanned or whether it's a digitally bound document, we can process either one of them.
All right. So the next question is, do you have plans to add the personal tax forms to your product, such as 1040, Schedule E, B, etc.? And the short answer is yes. We're very close to finalizing Schedule E. We'll already have Schedule C, and then the future schedules are coming very soon, and I believe those will appear on our roadmap very soon. Murali, do you want to add anything else to that?
No, that's it.
All right. The next question is a few questions that you may be getting to, but thought I'll drop them in the chat just in case. Does this work on all types of tax returns, 1120, 1120S, 1065? And then Schedule C and Schedule E. So yes, every form, Kylie, that you mentioned, we are able to process the 1120, 1120S, 1065, and then Schedule C and Schedule E is being released very soon. The next question was, does this also input Schedule K, M1, and M3? So we are processing Schedule K and M1 and M2 at this moment. The next question is, for items like OPEX and COGS details, does it pull in the details from the statements that get attached to the returns? For the operating expenses, other deductions, and for the cost of goods sold, if there is an attachment with supplemental schedules, we do extract the data, and what you will see in a demo, it actually very nicely injects it into the P&L, so you don't have to manually do it. And actually, in the export itself, we have multiple screens because as our community grows, we get different requests and we'll listen to everyone's feedback. And a lot of people said, well, actually, I don't want my other deductions to be spread, or I just want the other deductions by themselves, or I just want to see what's on the first page of tax returns. So we have these multiple screens, kind of a buffet variety of what you would like to use and what serves your models best. All right, the next question is from Lorraine. I use tax returns for forensic accounting too. Is Schedule C the only schedule you pick up for a 1040? And yes, at this moment, it is the only schedule that we extract. We do also extract the supplemental schedules to that Schedule C. If there's other expenses that's being pushed on a separate page, again, we would be picking those up and injecting them into the P&L. So you see that comprehensive view of financials and the spread of the financials. All right, next question is from Steven. Do you carry cyber insurance to cover any issues? And the answer is yes. If you require a copy of it, just reach out to us, reach out to Adam, and we're happy to pass that information on to you. But yes, we do have cyber insurance. And another question from Steven. Are the supporting statements also used to populate the expense detail and breakdown of liability and asset categories? So I believe you are referencing the balance sheet statements, and yes, any supplemental statements for other assets, other current assets, other liabilities, etc. We do also extract those statements and they are injected in the balance sheet. But similarly to P&L, we also have a buffet of options. If you want the consolidated version, it's there. Once the Excel is exported, if you don't want to, then it's also there. Anything I'm missing, Murali, that you'd like to add from the questions that we just answered?
No, I think that was quite extensive.
All right. Then we're ready to move on, and we love the questions. So please don't hesitate to send more questions. The more, the merrier.
I think we covered a lot of this as part of the Q&A, but here are some of the statements and the tax forms that we processed today. 1120, 1120S, 1065, and 1040 Schedule C. Within each of these tax forms, we extract income statements, balance sheets, and as Nataliya mentioned, I think it's very imperative, we do extract all the supporting schedules, right? So the other deductions, supporting statements for balance sheet items, or, all of those things. And we make them available both in an integrated form and a non-integrated form, right? Depending on how your workflow is structured, how you leverage the output from Nambri, you can either go straight to the integrated tab and work towards your analysis, or you can, take the non-integrated part of it, roll it into your existing models, and then work with it, right? So we're kind of agnostic to where you are in your journey itself. So you can leverage the output in a fashion that kind of fits your need, right? And the product is not constrained by the number of years. So we have some clients who value 5 years, or some clients who value 3 years for every project. So it does not matter how many years of tax returns you're processing, or per project. You can throw as many tax returns as you want. It'll instantly process the documents. It'll spread the records in a way that you can logically visualize the data, right? And once again, I emphasize this as I ran through the architecture. I showed you the visualization of the product. So we are completely cloud-based. There is no data that's retained within the firewalls for Nambri itself, right? We don't save your data. We don't process your data. We don't retain it for any purposes. So your data is completely under your control. You have the authority to push the data to Nambri. You can retrieve the output and instantly delete the files, right? Like I mentioned earlier, the processing takes about 3 to 5 minutes. If you don't want the files to stay on the server, you have the option to delete it. And all the processed output, the output that you extract from us, we don't save any local copies. So all the processed output from Nambri resides only on your local folders, right? Once you download it, we don't have a copy of the processed output or the source data once you delete it. So I think the next question I just saw is from Lorraine. How does the data come to you? In other words, can I send one large PDF with 5 years, or do I need to organize the PDFs into yearly data? So the way the application works, Nataliya will give you guys a tour of the product and kind of walk you through it. So you would subscribe to the product. You will be given a username, password. Once you log into the product, you will create a project and you upload the PDFs, right? So like I said, 5 years, 13 years, 15 years, doesn't matter. But each of those tax files need to be a discrete file, right? So 2025, 2024, 2023, it has to be broken down into individual PDFs. But, so that when you process the data and when you spread it out, each of those are captured in their distinct form. So we do, the current system's limitation is that you would submit 5 different tax files individually broken down for processing. Just to clarify, like why we came about doing this and why we did this, right? Just to refresh the thought process here. So we saw quite extensively in the fintech world and and in the valuation space, significant amount of manual processing, right? So as people started using tax records, most of the data entry was happening manual. So what we wanted to do was to eliminate that data entry job, right? Not to kind of eliminate the role of the valuation itself, but to expedite the valuation. We want to get from the data to the valuation as fast as possible, not be bogged down by manual data entry, errors, those kind of things. So instead of making it, a manual entry, data review, so on and so forth, we wanted to move more towards analysis, right? How can you leverage the data? How can you make decisions on the data? How can you value the data? So with that in mind, we came up with Nambri TaxXL. And here's a small case study that kind of proves the point, right? So if a valuation practice has, consumes 10 plus hours a week on tax prep, where they're taking multiple years of tax records, manually entering the data, going through the motions of valuation and stuff, we have demonstrated about 75% in reduction. So you can practically eliminate the need for manual data entry and then move or efficiently use your time towards valuation. There's one more question before I hand it back to Nataliya. Do you do a similar PDF to Excel process for bank statements, financial statements? This is definitely on our roadmap. I think this is also something that we are working on, to be able to take the PDF statements and financial statements, but it's currently not available.
All right. So now we're getting ready to show you the product demo, and hopefully that will create more questions that we can answer, so you feel comfortable with the product and you'll see what does it able to do. So the process, again, is fairly self-intuitive. You launch the app through BVR. You would log in, as where you would find all of your other resources, where you have your deal stats, your cost of capital, everything else. So it's very conveniently will be located in the same section. You will then enter Nambri TaxXL. You will upload your PDFs, and what Murali said, it can be 3 years if I'm doing SBA valuations, for example, or if I'm doing gift and estate tax planning, I may have 6 years because I want to capture the entire business cycle with tax returns. But really, I think we tested, when we first developed the product, we tested it with uploading 200 tax returns. And believe it or not, it processed. So we know it works. We know if you're working on a large litigation case and you have 10 years or so of data that you need to extract, the product can handle that volume of data. So Nambri TaxXL obviously will run through its stages. It will analyze the data, if the PDFs are not very high quality, as one of you asked a little bit earlier, again, the best practice would be for you not just to click and export it to Excel and then trying to fish out and find that error. The best practice would be open up the tax returns that has been extracted within Nambri TaxXL itself, and identify which schedule has an error, which is very easy to do because you will have that exclamation mark. You will see the cells. You can double click and enter the correct number if it for some reason didn't pick up a couple of digits. Save it and then export it. Because if you try to do it the other way around, you will it will be the opposite of adding efficiency to your practice. You will be just fishing for that one error, where it's much easier to do it within the product itself. And then feel free to copy paste data. We are providing the common size analysis for those historicals, so it's very easy to see whether the margins jumped crazy all over the place during your period of analysis, or if there's any one large expense that seems to be out of place, let's say the cost of litigation for one of the years that you need to adjust off if it's just a regular operating company. Very easy to see those trends within the program. All right, so I think the next one is a product demo, and here's a lovely sound to remind you to answer a polling question. So go ahead and do that while I'm prepping and sharing my screen with you to show the product itself. So I'm going to log in from a different screen, but like I said, within your BVR subscription, as you log in to your dashboard and you subscribe to Nambri Technologies, Nambri TaxXL, you will see it as part of the products available to you. So the very first step, once you log into your dashboard, you will create a new project. So here I will say I'm doing a cleaning company and simply click save. And then you upload the tax return. So in this case, this was an SBA related valuation. So we reviewed 3 years of tax returns for those engagements. And we'll let the program process it. So it typically takes, as Murali said, a couple of minutes to maybe 5 minutes, depending on the size of the files. You will need to manually click the blue errors will sign here and allow the program to refresh and show whether it went through all 6 phases. Once the file is ready, you will see that the magnifying glass on the right-hand side turns green. That means the file is ready. So for example, this file is ready. So if there was an error, this file appears to be a good quality file, there would be an exclamation mark next to the magnifying glass. So what you would want to do is click on the magnifying glass. If there was an error in the file, you would see the exclamation mark again next to the schedule that would have the error to help you identify where to look for and where to enter the correct number. So in this case, in any dashboard that you click and you can see the schedules that have been extracted. You will see the PDF in the middle, and then the numbers themselves will appear on the right-hand side. So here we have the income statement, and you can see the numbers. Let's say if it had an error in gross sales, you would double click, you would enter correct number, and then simply at the bottom, you click save. And typically the program is very intuitive and intelligent, so it does sum these numbers up. So if the error disappears and the sum is correct, that exclamation point will disappear. So confirming that the math works out just fine. Then here you will see Schedule K and the data related to it. We also have the balance sheet scraped. Schedule M1, cost of goods sold, than what someone asked earlier, other deductions. In this case, it wasn't a very large schedule, but nevertheless, it's very helpful once it does, because to see accurately the expense line item, how it aligns with the numbers, much easier once the program scrapes it for you. And then the supporting schedules, in this case, is just the credit card payable expense. But if there was more, the program obviously would pick that up. And because I'm sharing my screen, I'm not able to see if there are any questions. So I'll just pause for a second and let Murali see if there's any questions that we could answer before I move on to the extraction part, exportation.
We've not received any questions, Nataliya.
All right, very good. So now, as you can see, all 3 years have been scraped. There are no errors in this file. So what you want to do is simply export. And that's very easy to do. I will go ahead and open, oops, I think I lost the file. There you go, cleaning company. And voila, magically, are you able to see the P&L as well or no?
We are not able to see the...
No, okay, let me adjust the settings.
Okay,
I believe.
while you're doing that, let me answer. We have a question from Kaylee. Do you have to
Okay,
put
go ahead.
PDFs down to adjust the specific pages with these related schedules, or can you upload the entire return? So you do not have to do any pairing or pruning of the PDFs itself. You upload the entire tax return. So we classify every single page and then process the relevant pages associated with individual schedules.
All right, I'm assuming that you can see the screen now. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. So here's the exported schedule, and you will see the exported data on the left-hand side, and then the common size analysis on the right-hand side. What's nice about this extracted data, these are all formulas. They are not hard-coded numbers. So if there is any errors or any patterns that you want to see, it's very easy for you to double check it, triple check it, versus just assuming that the hard-coded numbers would have been correct. So we do calculate the growth rate for the revenues and the gross profit margins, so on and so forth. This personally is my favorite view, and this is how I utilize in my valuation engagements. These are all in alphabetical order, and again, that's just easy for me to see from year to year how the data spreads and identify any abnormalities. I will point out, for example, here, so in one tax return, there was either extra spacing, or it said credit card versus credit cards, plural versus singular. So the program realized that as two different line items. So very easy to just copy and paste it, and then just delete that extra row. So you can manipulate the schedule with very much of an ease and convenience for your engagement. Then typically what I do, I just copy and paste this into my evaluation workbook, and then kind of start the analysis point without spending a few hours manually typing every single number that you find in this schedule. What you will see at the bottom here is the taxable net income. So this is not the book income, and I know most of you probably reconcile to that book income. What you can do then is go to schedule the M1, M2, and then make those reconciliations. Not everyone does it, but if you do it, we do provide those supplemental schedules. The second tab shows you that consolidated view or not integrated view. So if you didn't care about spreading other deductions, as you have seen on the first tab, you can use this view. So you only see the items that appear on the first page of the tax document here, and then other deductions are combined. If I scroll through this fairly comprehensive workbook, there is a tab that shows are the deduction statement, and you can see just the spread of the other deductions. Again, it's just your preference, your work process. You're in charge of how you want to use the data. We're going to pause and see if there's any questions, Murali, because I cannot see the screen with the questions on my end.
I think the first one is, how can we get a trial of the software?
Okay, would you
Lorraine,
like to answer that?
Lorraine, you can reach out to the BVR folks to see how we can work to get you provision. I think there's another question from Shirley. Why did it bring in accounts with zero balances? So we do not make any decisions on, removing any line items from your tax documents, right? When we process the data, we extract the data as it's available, and we bring that into the product, to the export. You can make the decision to eliminate it as you need, but when we process, we don't eliminate any zero rows.
Yes, correct. And actually, you can see here, for example, we kept that line item, other deductions. Again, because it just depends how you use the schedules. It's very easy just to delete rather than need something and not have it. So to that point, I guess, when you are spreading your financials and then let's say you are reconciling to that book income, oftentimes the charitable contributions will not appear as part of your taxable income, but it will be, you'll see some charitable contributions on the supporting schedules. So then you may want to enter these numbers, and it's convenient to have this placeholder already. You can override it, you can cancel, delete it if you don't need it. You have that range of the flexibility. Any other questions, Murali, there?
I think it said, consider turning off your video or zooming into the Excel to give folks a better view.
Okay, very good suggestion. How's that? Is that a little better?
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic is fantastic. So we have, again, the revenue, your cost of revenue, all of the common size and nice little formulas that we have. At the bottom, we are reconciling and have that second confirmation that we are aligned with the taxable income at the bottom, and that if you need for some reason to reconcile to a book, you can do so. Let me just show then the cost of goods schedule. Here's another supplemental schedule. Let me magnify it for everyone. There was no supplemental schedules to this cost of goods schedule, so this is just a pure extraction from that 1125A schedule in this case. So the non-integrated version would pretty much look identical because there's nothing that was not integrated. Here's the schedule K1, and this is just exactly as it appears on tax returns line by line. This seems a little bigger. Not a lot of items on this tax returns. It's pretty, seems to be pretty straightforward. So there would not be a lot of variation in integrated versus non-integrated version. And here's the schedule M1. And you can see your net income per books. There was additional T&E expense, and you can kind of see what that shows. And then other deductions already covered. Go ahead.
Sorry, there was a question regarding the book adjustments. Can you show the book adjustments?
Yes. 1 second. I believe it's that one. It's the same as non-integrated schedules. There you go. And here's the sound for another polling questions. Make sure to answer that.
We have a couple of questions, Nataliya. I can read that out to you. Can you extract the asset list and related depreciation data from the tax return?
So at this moment, we don't extract the depreciation schedule there. We've found so far that I'm going to stop sharing. And then if we can go back to our slides for everyone. Thank you, Nathan. We found so much variation across how the depreciation is reported. So it is in our roadmap and we do want to include it, but we want to make sure we maintain that high accuracy percentage. So throwing something in there that may not have consistently that 95% and higher accuracy rate, with right now we're not comfortable releasing that schedule, but it certainly is on the roadmap.
The last question that I see here is, does the software utilize formulas in the total field?
Yes, that is correct. So any subtotals, wherever we can, we use the formulas, because again, we don't want to hard code something and then you have to recreate it. We want to simplify that work process for you as much as possible. So any subtotals, totals, divisions, margins, those are all calculations and formula based.
Can
you
you
show the balance? Yep, I saw that. So let me share my screen. Share, and let me pull that schedule. So let me go back to the balance sheet and magnify it. Okay. If you need me to scroll, just let us know. Put it back in the comments. Again, this is all common size as a percent of total assets. Any questions?
The next one is, I think it's more of an observation. It says, Nanesh says, so the chances of error is low.
It's $1 million question. It's kind of never say never. Depends on the quality of the form that you're including. And at this point, we've had so many permutations and combinations where if there is a question that a user would email BVR and BVR shares those questions with us. We had people who would mix and match tax returns. So let's say 1 year the company was filing the form 1065, but then they decided they turned into an S corp, and then they decided to mix and match those, and then they would say, oh, the product doesn't scrape. Well, the product is confused because we have different legal entities, essentially different tax forms. So it just depends. As long as the tax forms are clean, we are working on accuracy, constantly improving. The product keeps learning from itself. It's AI based. So it becomes more robust as it learns from itself. But are there errors possible? Of course, they're possible. And there could be a multiple variety of reasons as to why. Murali, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's true. It's, we're only as good as the data that we receive. So for the most part, we try our best to give you the most accurate data, but we do have errors. But we do give you a mechanism for you to go into the product, fix the error at a much faster pace. Instead of running through with a ruler and looking at every single line item, you can actually copy and paste the real number from the tax document into the fields and then save the Excel.
Yes, and I actually will add something else. I believe it was last year, and Murali, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. On 11/20th, there was an additional line item that appeared, and I think it was building efficiency. Very few tax returns that I personally came across that was actually had that line item with any types of numbers, but guess what? The tax form got updated, so it was throwing the numbers, and we caught that. So as I'm the user of the product myself, so I noticed the error, and then we had the users who reported it as well, and it was just like that. And within minutes, we could fix it. Right? We realized we need to include this additional form, and everything then was aligned. So there's these nuances that we come across, but all of them are solvable issues, and it's pretty straightforward.
I think we've answered the next question that's up there, in terms of the types of errors and stuff. The next question that I have is from Tyson. If the tax return has client copy watermarks, does that bother the scraping? Yes, it does. I mean, if the watermark goes through the tax document and cuts off the numbers or makes the numbers unreadable, we'll have some errors. But like I said, the product is built for you to go in to the product, take a look at the numbers. You can reconcile the entire tax document within a few minutes. So wherever you find like the numbers have not been extracted because of the watermark, you can practically enter only those specific numbers, and then you will be off to the race.
Yeah, and it really depends where that watermark is really located. If it's very much faded, it may not even impact it. But if it is pretty dark where you cannot even see with the naked eye what that number is, then most likely the program will have an issue with it. But I would say most of tax returns, as long as the watermark is kind of faint, it's fine. It may not even have the error. Or if it is, it may not read just the last digits, and it's very easy, as I showed you, double click, enter the correct number, and click save. All right. I'll move on to our pretty much last slide, and this is just the roadmap of the latest and greatest of what we have going on. So as you can see on our roadmap, we do have the financial statements coming up pretty soon, and we are aiming to do the audited, unaudited financial statements, internal P&Ls. Most likely, I will say those QuickBooks generated internal P&Ls and balance sheet would come next before the actual audited financial statements. We know that our litigation community professionals, they do want to see those bank statements. So those are coming up. And then we do have an exciting addition of business valuation software that's happening very soon. So hopefully we'll be able to share that with the BVR soon and then keep you updated on that progress as well. Murali, anything else you want to add for the roadmap? No. And then we actually just had a meeting, and those 1040 schedules are going to be added next. So I'm not sure if they're reflected properly on this roadmap, and we will send to BVR the updated roadmap with all the 1040 additional schedules. And with that, we're at the last screen. I don't know if there's any other questions that anyone may have, but thank you so much for joining us this lovely afternoon.
All right, well, thank you so much. On behalf of BVR, I want to thank Murali and Nataliya for an excellent presentation. As a reminder, to receive CE credit, you must complete and submit a brief survey on this webinar. A link to this survey is provided in your login email and on the reading page for today's webinar. Your feedback is key to providing the best possible programs for you, so please provide us with any suggestions you may have. If you choose to fill out the survey now, your browser will automatically direct to the CE credit page when I finish speaking, so don't disconnect. The survey will be active for 5 days and must be completed before we can process certificates. After 5 business days, we will process your CE and send your certificates via email. If you have any questions related to the content or format of this webinar, please email our training manager at training@bvresources.com. And coming up for more BVR webinars, we have on April 30th, we have a new series titled AI for BV with Rod Burkert. And on May 1st, we have the actuarial risk of an owner's death and valuations involving a mandatory buy and sell at death obligation with Paul Hood. You can find additional offerings on our calendar page as well under live events. Thank you all for listening and have a great rest of your day. We are going to end this webinar now, so please go ahead and fill out the survey.